This is my partner, Tong, and me, Rowena. So we'll be starting right now.
And first, we'll talk about the algorithmic art and what meaning of the algorithmic art. At the time of technology development, when more people use computer, it's only natural art people would associate the computer art with, so algorithmic art was born. Algorithmic art is a new form of art in 1916. People began experimenting the algorithmic art by using AD property. At the same time, everyone saw the machine as a theoretical applicator was not combined with the art, but algorithms and other research discovered the ability of these machines. The playing ground and the outcome is all the program induction divided by user. Instead of the using machine to perform technology operations, they are programming to them to produce organized integrate automatic products. It's a different style to menu to hang out drawing in 1960. So the lady sent up to graduate system project in the Art Institute of Chicago. People start to change the outside information position. In 19, on the other hand, a finished product is related to the automatic art by human, which means they are inevitably carry them all basis on John was very willing. His friend had talked about she incorrected when she used some facial recognition program and found that she had some problem so far to misjudging his skin color and gender. So she researched the reason for this misjudging. She found that most of the sofa selects the male and the white skins when they took a standard data for the face. This means there's no fair databases owned by the producer. It's in one, two systems and the cosmos. Of course, because of light, it also some white skin looks darker and affect some judgment. The root of data in single carriages not achieve the balanced collection is only the way to trust the movement to collect the report for daily life. For example, the ratio of the man or female needs to be even after joy requires the companies to have the ability to collect the facial data. They have very quickly changed. However, they are not difficult to change as long as the product collects the data instead of the famous collective data, and also not forget to data to minorities affairs. Something of the aggregated products or aggregated artists to keep in mind. Of course, this is not just one example. There's still many similar things to aggregate.
The key concepts of algorithmic art. And the first one will be randomness. As you can see in the picture, the mountains go by random and they're not very equally. So we understand the tordiness scientifically, but it still feels supernatural. The randomness makes it feel supernatural. And this is by Michael Corita. As surprising as it may seem, randomness is a crucial element in generative design, which is also algorithm design, and it goes on in hand with a smart use of randomness that makes it look almost non-deterministic. One simple way to accomplish such designs is to start with a simple system and add randomness until it feels right. So the next one will be repetition and structure. So as you can see in the picture, there's a lot of triangles and how it is structured with different size and proportion of it. So the creativity is the ability to introduce the order into randomness of nature. This is mentioned by Eric Hofer. It's not very subtle to notice, but a lot, if not even all of the artworks in this build are based on repetition and structure. So even more, this concept goes in hand with randomness, as structure and repetition without random practice yields dull, and randomness without order and repetition yields chaos. So luckily for us, the programmatic way of creating algorithm artwork is making this concept relatively easy to implement. So the last will be recursion. As you can see in the last image, there's a lot of squares going smaller and smaller in each. That's called the recursion. So the last important concept to get you going So you can almost feel it in the above sketch that it's almost always good to have recursion in your sketch, or at least some part of it. Every example of algorithm art like fractals. Fractals are infinitely complex patterns that are self-similar across different scales. They are created by repeating a simple process over and over in an ongoing feedback loop. Yeah. So these are three simple key concepts of algorithm art. So I'll let you know a few types of algorithm art. We have the evolutionary art, which is a branch of generative art in which artist does not do the work of constructing the artwork, but rather lets the system to do the construction. The artist may also choose to introduce mutation to create variants and ensure diversity. Generative artwork is an evolution of ideas. The artist only begins with a general concept and does not know what all the details will look like until the piece is completely finished. And creative process is closely linked to the random intuitive decisions. Moving on, we have the fractal art, which I previously mentioned. Fractal art is a lot of geometry elements together in recursion. So fractal element is a geometric pattern that is repeated with some smaller or larger scales to create irregular shapes and patterns. A form of algorithmic art, fractal art is made by calculating fractal objects and displaying the results as still images, animations, or media. So the last one will be AI and art. All right. So artists write algorithms not to follow the set of rules, but to learn. That's a very important word, to learn a specific aesthetic by analyzing thousands of images. The algorithm then tries to generate new images and adherence the aesthetic that it has learned. So over here, we do have a link to show you a very quick generation of AI art, but that is already there to help us create a very easy AI art, which is we could randomly choose a scenery that we want. We go by random, or we could actually choose. I'll pick hooded alien creature, and we can pick a style. I'll go with cubist, and yeah. So this will be ongoing, and it'll be taking some time. So I'll continue presenting, and then we'll get back to this.
Talk about some expressions about algorithm art. This concept of expression is subject of a lot of many individual artworks, artists, post robotics, and the composers pretending work to ranging from the computer graphics, computer music, and the robot installations. So it is divided to three sections of computer. The first one is the computer graphics, computer animation fields, computer concepts, and the player music, and the computer portraits and text. Second one is the cyber device of the artwork cyber environment, augmented control robots, and the drawing machine. The second one is the machine to demonstration to useful computer and the environment. That this was the history of the cyber test. The core of the expression as the inspiration of the relationship between the technology and the creativity are engineer experience or some active algorithms and some engineer productions. Many artists, scientists was invited to the participate in the art. So this process was ranging for the computer graphics, computer music, and the robot the demonstrations in the artist must build relationship with the scientists who need to co-edit and protest their own work. So this one of the part of this mission is called the colloquy of the mobiles. Colloquy with mobiles one of part of by the Golden Park. The first making some sculptures figure and the figure will exchange with the audience by move each other source photographic sound and express the nature of the machine to machine and the human to machine theologies interactive the immersive environment. Supplying the relationship at the time, the colloquy of the mobile is influenced generation was the artist and the critics concerned with the role of technology in everyday life. It has never been replicated before. The projects have the general attention and the support of the art, media design, and the education communities. He wants to explain the relationship between the machine and the robot, human and interactive immersive environment. Sorry about that. He created an environment where people feel sense of relationship and the emotion by simulating everyday life, and the robot talk in the intact with this. There's also some implication for us now because now it's trying to have the similar daily life we have with the Siri and
the next artwork that we will be introducing. It's called Zauberfloi. I hope I pronounced it right in 2018. So this is by Michael Hansmeyer. It's an architecture. He's an architect who considers generative design as thinking about designing not the object but the process to generate objects. In which you can see over here in the picture, the process allows for more artificial serendipity, the happy accidents and novel ideas, and that normally takes time to stumble upon. So Hans Meyer used generative design to help create the grotto set of Mozart's opera in the image over here, which you can see in the background. It's the generative art. And yeah, so by using computational tools to explore, optimize, and test creative design ideas rapidly, artists like Hans Meyer are maximizing the opportunity for creativity. And also, the design process strikes a balance between expected and unexpected, between control and relinquishment. This is further explained by Michael Hansmeyer. While the process are deterministic, the results are not foreseeable. The computer acquires the power to surprise us. And which why I really like this piece. This piece is because it really brings modernity into place, which you don't in normal opera it's always the old Roman tome kind of thing, and this really stands out because it really brings modernity. It's telling us that we're moving on. We cannot be stuck in the same place over and over again, and that's why I really like this piece. So moving on to the next piece, this is Bloom. It's an app. It's made during the 2008. So the original 2008 Bloom app was a generative music making app that allowed you to create music by touching parts of the screen. These were when looped and would eventually fade out as you played more. It was one of the most memoristic and calming compositional experience out there. So Bloom is essentially the original times 10, this version. You're given 10 environments to create with, each unlocking as you play the one before. At first, we thought it was a merely looping experience, but as you unlock more worlds, the interaction becomes more complex. Origin is the first world, described as an echo of the original. Here, the cycling is initially a loop, but notes eventually change if you leave it a while. Progress through to world number 5, Mal, and the generation seems more enhanced and based on the rhythm of the original. So most of the worlds here tend to veer off of their own, but stay in key if you leave them alone. So you're never getting any jarring notes. Yep. So there are 2 links here that are very simple kind of way to let you know how touching the screen and leaving it on the music on, notes going works, but I would skip that today. You guys can go have a look next time. It's really cool. So moving on to the next artwork. This is actually by a professor in Unimelt. This is called Negentropy Triptych. I hope I'm pronouncing correct. Triptych. Yeah. Is an unexpected outcome of a mathematics research project titled Stress testing algorithms, generating new test instance to elite insights. This is funded by Australian Research Council. This, Professor Kate Smith-Miles' quest to generate mathematical functions that are challenging and stress test optimization algorithms has led to a large collection to intricate, beautiful 2D image, contour plots of mathematical functions that have been mathematically generated to create challenging landscapes. So unable to choose the most beautiful image to create as a poster, she and her co-author, Mario Andres, decided to arrange many images into a montage, but what was most aesthetic arrangement, they noticed that the presence of the background structure formed as a localized connection between the images, meandering blue rivers of various lengths depending on the arrangement. So this was then made into a merchandise of Unimelt as well. So moving on, we have a quote from Celestino Sodu. He's an Italian architect. He teaches generative design at Polytechnic University of Milan and is a pioneer of generative art and design, which acknowledges the result as tools that open new fields and enhance our understanding of creativity as an indissoluble synthesis between art and science. That's what he calls algorithm art. So to conclude our whole presentation, algorithms are challenging the way people define art and creativity. You may have noticed that the term artist and programmer are used interchangeably. Algorithm art is closing the gap between areas that have been traditionally considered to be distinctly left or right brain. The integration of technology and art will continue to impact both how art is created and what is aesthetically possible, paving the way for more technical art. So our first question will be, is algorithm art real art?
Let's support our presenters' peeps. It's good to start with a very general, broad question.
I guess it could be, depending on how you do it.
Yes,
I mean,
that's a very open-ended answer.
there must be multiple ways of doing it,
Yes.
and probably not every way would work for not everyone because they can't all like the same things. But
Yes.
but still, it doesn't mean that it can't be made into a form of art.
Yeah, that was very argumentative. So moving on, we have, is there a need for government rules to avoid the problem of discrimination caused by algorithms? That's what you mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the big issue at the moment in terms of governmental regulation. I don't know in terms of art, because your topic is algorithmic art. I would hate to see some sort of governmental regulation generated around the process and making of art, but we certainly need it in the broader socio-political sphere in terms of, you know, a lot of the, I mean, I want to see whether you generated that image, by the way, but a lot of those platforms or interfaces that enable you to create your own algorithmic art are also scraping data. Often the language models are not just giving you a good time, they're sort of scraping data or extracting it for capitalist purposes. Sorry, I just always have to make that an important aspect to, I mean, you know, it's good to make algorithmic art around that concept, you know, to kind of interrupt it or disrupt it. You know.
Yeah, that is true. So what are some prospective future for algorithm art, or like what are new kinds of art that does the computer enable? So previously I've shown that they could be the stage background, they could be the merchandise, which is a very new form of how to use algorithm art. I was wondering if anyone else have any idea of any other forms of it. or any future for it.
Future. So what kind of art does the computer enable, and what are some prospective futures or
I think maybe some
prospective
video
art?
art.
It's a really interesting trend in China. Like people love to buy artworks and decorate their home, but sometimes those artworks may cost like thousands bucks. But those buyers they don't. Yeah, but those buyers they actually don't agree with their values and they actually don't understand art. They just want artwork to decorate their home. If like algorithm art appear in future and they really do amazing artworks, maybe those paintings like price may decrease to like $10.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they just need a beautiful, nice artworks. They actually didn't care which artist drew the paintings and what's the meaning in the artworks. They might just need beautiful pictures. So like a future I can see about urban art is like many like online shops. They use
The end of our presentation, and also we have our reference, which is Qing right now.
Let's see what the picture is.
Yeah, so that's what we
Wow.
have. It's the hooded alien creature with the Cuban mystic style done by AI.